How you doing, everyone? We got a fun webinar planned for you guys today. We're going to be discussing managing disasters, so exploring RPO and RTO configurations for seamless recovery. We'll kick off here. I want to introduce myself and Dan. My name is Nick DeStefano. I'm the product marketing manager for backup and ticketing here at NinjaOne. And Dan is the product manager for backup here at NinjaOne. So walk you guys through kind of a little bit of our agenda, what we're going to discuss today. We have a little surprise for you guys also, but today we're going to discuss, what are RPO and RTO, 4 steps to help you create an RPO and RTO game plan for, either your business, yourself, your clients. We're going to discuss more or less 3 real-world scenarios that show the importance of RPO and RTO planning. We'll give you guys some questions that you can either ask your backup provider or any backup providers you're going through the process of evaluating to ensure that they can help you reach your or your client's RPO and RTO. And then we're going to wrap it up with a Q&A session as well as a gift giveaway. Now, as we go throughout, Dan is going to drive most of this presentation. He'll be showing a bunch of really fun things going through. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat throughout. If you have any questions that are pertaining specifically to what Dan will be presenting, I'll see, if applicable, I can stop Dan throughout some of the slides. We'll answer some of your questions throughout. But if you don't, feel free to ask some questions at the end during the Q&A session. So with that, I'll hand it over to Dan and we can get going.
Thanks, Nick. It's great to have everyone here today. As Nick said, we're going to be discussing what RPO and RTO is all about, but we're going to do something dangerous, and I'm going to do a real-time restoration live on screen. So what we have done today is set up a nice VM here with some CPU and RAM booting from our Ninja image restore tool, and we are going to explain why it is so important to be prepared for an emergency, why it is important to have these questions answered and a plan. I couldn't do this today if I didn't have a checklist, if I didn't practice this. And believe me, I've practiced this about 6 times this morning to make sure that we go off well and without a hitch. So what we're going to do here is go through some of the steps, and then we'll check in on our restore as we go throughout our presentation. So let's get this going right now. We're going to just go ahead and jumpstart into doing a bare metal restore to a new virtual machine here. And we have our Ninja console here ready. And today we're going to just use this little small server and kick off our restore. So here I am choosing my image backup, and I'm just doing a few things that I know that I need to do. We're going to map our disk to disk. All right. Everyone cross your fingers. We'll be checking back up on this as time goes on. So let's get started into the meat of our presentation here. What is RPO and RTO? Why are they different? Why are they important? Let's get some definitions out of the way. RPO, Recovery Point Objective. Now, this refers to how much data loss your business can withstand before reaching catastrophic or unacceptable levels. And this may vary depending on your business or even the specific workloads in your organization. So if you have a point of sale system, and if you lost 3 hours of transactions, it would be completely unacceptable, or more than 3 hours, your RPO is 3 hours. Some companies can't lose 3 hours of data. Some companies can lose 3 days. Some companies could lose 3 weeks of data and still continue to function. It is about what do your business needs and your business requirements have. Okay, we know what RPO is. RTO, Recovery Time Objective, refers to how quickly a business must recover its systems from downtime once the incident and after the incident has occurred. So if you are okay going back 1 day for your RPO, but it takes you a week, well, that may not be acceptable either, right? You may have a recovery point objective of, you know, 1 day, but you need to be back up and running also within 1 day. Maybe it's hours and hours. Maybe it's, hey, okay, as long as we're back up and running next week, I'll be okay. But it's important to recognize that by understanding what your RPO and RTO is, you could set the expectations ahead of time, and then it helps make recovery as quickly as, objective based rather than just saying as quick as possible. Oh, fun. We'll come back to this, but my restore is done because this is a very small 20 gig server. But we're going to come back to this as we go through our presentation. All right. So let's talk about a game plan here. So there are basically 4 important steps to take. And step 1 is really assessing your environment and your customer's environment. There could be different RPO and RTO needs, even just depending on the asset. Perhaps a file server. Look, you can get that back up anytime in the next couple of days, but this database, this application server, the line of business app that we run, that needs to be taken care of within hours. So step 1 is identifying what are those critical data and critical processes that need to be discovered. And this is an exercise to do with your stakeholders, with your business leaders. If you're an MSP, we're going to talk a little bit about this, but there's a great opportunity even to provide this disaster recovery planning. Everything's a service nowadays, but there is an opportunity to make this a separate package, whereby you provide like a absolute top to bottom checklist. So we need to assess the business's need here in step 2. How much data of these assets that you identified in step 1 can you afford to lose? 3 hours versus 3 days, right? RTO, how long can a certain asset be down? And how long will it take you to recover that? An interesting idea of RTO could also be that if you have a recovery time objective of 1 day, but you're only storing your backups in the cloud and there's 3 terabytes, that's going to be tough. I really hope you have a good internet connection. And so understanding that there could be other aspects of RTO. I mean, how long does it take you to even respond to an incident? If it takes you an hour to respond to an incident, you're already an hour into your recovery time objective. So understanding that there could be extenuating circumstances and that these need to apply to how you create the RPO and RTO, really important. So now that you know your RPO and your RTO, and you've already identified it for each of your critical assets in the organization, how are you doing today? Do you feel comfortable with the current backup vendor you're using? If you have an RPO of 6 hours, but you're only taking backups once a day, that's a problem, right? You're not going to meet your objective, and you would need to take extra steps to ensure that. So now it's time to check your current processes and procedures, check your current vendors. You now understand these objectives and what they mean and how that they are defined. So you need to start looking at your current solutions and understand, are we going to be successful? Are we going to be successful using these solutions? If you have a recovery time objective of an hour, well, maybe it's not just about backup. Maybe it's about having literally spare hot site ready to go, so that you can just fail over from a replication source. Do you have the technology? Do you have the hardware? Do you have the preparations made to handle different types of failures? And finally, as with many of our backup webinars, our focus is testing, practicing. Disaster recovery needs to have a plan. you need to test this entire process, including that personal setup and restoration time. If you've never done a restore, you might be really scared to do this just on the fly. Look, restores and recovery operations, they're challenging even under the best of circumstances. The only reason I feel comfortable doing this is because I've set my own checklist. I've practiced. I've used this technology. I understand how it functions, and I understand what I would do in different situations. So it's really important that a backup strategy and an RPO and RTO disaster recovery strategy, these are not set and forget products. And I always caution any vendor that tries to tell you that backup is set it and forget it. Like, that's not what we want to do. Ninja has our own backup product that I manage here as the product manager. Backup is a team effort and a team sport. And vendors can do a lot, but you being prepared and you understanding what's going to happen in a crisis situation is going to make sure that you're capable, and we're even more capable of supporting you when these problems happen. So we need to document these steps, every step along the way. And this is where I come from the MSP world. I've been here with Ninja for a little over a year now. But before that, our organization even had a special uh, um, project, package for this, where MSP customers, we would sell this as an opportunity to say, disasters happen. Are you prepared? Well, we just go to you. Well, today we're just going to do best effort. Best effort. We've got good documentation on you, but I think we should sit down and understand the critical needs of every item in your business. And so we went through the these steps 1 and 2 of identifying the assets, identifying the recovery point and the recovery time objective. And now that we had that, you start to get that clear picture of exactly what everyone is going to do in a disaster situation, down to written checklists, down to phoning certain stakeholders and individuals. And then you can perform this test. I mean, we've gone so far as to almost go to complete live production in a backup scenario over a weekend, over a weeknight. It depends on how far you want to take this. And then we perform this as a quarterly and annual test, and it made sure that we were prepared in the event of a disaster. All right, so let's start rolling the dice here and see if we can go ahead and finish up our restore here. So I'm going to go ahead and shut our machine down. And this machine is live right now. So the one thing I am going to just do is remove our ISO, remove the switch, and just making sure I'm looking at my checklist. Think we're good. Let's start it up. I expect this. It happens. And here we are.
Ooh, looking good, Dan.
So we just ran through our image restore tool and how to do a restore. But look, if you've never done this before, you would have a hard time. I mean, you would have to learn this technology from scratch. You would have to call us up, which of course we're here for. We're here to help you in any disaster recovery scenario. But preparation is the key here. All right, so let's talk about some real world scenarios and how they may, and showing the importance of having an understood RPO RTO. Are there any additional impacts that an RPO and RTO strategy might need to be adjusted for? So let's talk about a ransomware attack. So this is a little bit different than even just the scenario that I showed you here, right? In the scenario I just live demonstrated, we're just considering one server crashed. One server, no problem. Apparently a recovery time objective of 10 minutes. All right, we did pretty good there. But what happens when this scales? Okay, now you've got 6 servers. Do you have enough people that can help do this? Did you have a plan? Do you know which ones you're going through, right? But maybe it's not just servers, maybe it's all workstations. Congratulations. You've got the servers back up in your RTO, but nobody has a workstation to access or use anything. Do you have contingency plans? Do you have disaster plans to talk about what happens when nobody has a workstation? Uh, you know, Similarly, if a firewall goes down, do you have a plan to replace the firewall to get back up and running with that? It's not just about backups and servers and workstations, but it's the idea that anything in your technology chain needs to have a plan for. But I think the ransomware attack does prove to be a challenging issue. And some of these may not have good solutions, right? Some of these may be, this is going to suck for a couple of days, but how do I get back up and running? How does the business stay open? Again, some people's RTO may truly be, or even recovery point objective may truly be a week. And it's not recovery point objective is what would be painless. It would be, how do I keep the business open? How do the doors stay open? Okay, the accounting department is going to go have to rerun all those transactions manually, and it's going to take us 2 weeks to get back up to speed, but at least we can continue operations today and catch up. So your RPO isn't about what is not going to hurt. It's about what keeps the lights on, what keeps the business going, what would become an unacceptable loss of data. And so a ransomware attack may prove to be a very challenging situation, but you understanding what are the worst case scenarios here and what's good enough and what's a perfect scenario will help you strategize on what your RPO and RTO might be here. Especially when you're talking about recovery time objective, and if you're talking about restoring from backup, at scale, you still got one internet pipe coming in, right? So you need to make sure that you're factoring that in. Like you have 10 servers, can you concurrently run them all and meet your RTO objective times? Now, scenario 2 is more about what we just discussed and kind of demonstrated here. How are for individual servers, but physical servers. What if it's not a virtual server? What if the host goes down? How are you going to handle that? How are you going to recover from that? You have a plan. You have a plan to restore this virtual machine here. But what if you don't have a virtual machine host? What are you going to do? I know some MSPs would actually keep a spare server for that emergency for their clients that they could go deploy, on site and recover the virtual machines to that. Do you have a contingency plan for this? Do you know that there are some clients that have such strict RPO needs that it's time to present them a quote and say, well, you're going to need to purchase more hardware? I can recall that we had an organization that said, I can't handle a reboot ever. We just can't handle it, and we can't handle an hour's worth of downtime. We're an X company. We can't handle that sort of downtime. And so we said, okay, here you go. Here's your VMware high available cluster quote. Here's what we could do. And of course, what did they do? They said, oh, maybe we really don't need that, but it's still important to us. So get us back up and running. Well, now we've at least been able to have a legitimate discussion about it and say, if you want this recovery point objective, if you want this recovery time objective, it's going to cost. Now, for businesses that truly have those needs, hopefully it's a no-brainer. I know in our IT worlds, cost is not always a no-brainer when that situation happens. But attributing and understanding different scenarios, whether it be a ransomware attack, whether it be physical hardware loss or physical server loss, will be important to understanding what is your game plan going to cover. And then scenario 3, and just this thought exercise, is what happens if the whole site is lost? I mean, that's the worst case scenario. And to some businesses, they just Like, well, if that's the case, like, we got more important things to worry about than our computers. This is, this isn't gonna, we'll never survive. Well, hopefully that's not the case. But having plans of what would you do in this situation to keep the lights on, keep things moving. I mean, maybe as you're an MSP, maybe you are hosting it for them for a week. Maybe you are assisting them, and maybe you've already come up with colo options for a data center. Depends on the severity and the nature of their business. Coming up with a strategy that will make sure that you even at least have a baseline plan to get back up and running will be really important here. So now it's time to take a deeper dive in looking at your backup solutions, because this is primarily where you're going to be recovering from and accomplishing your RPO and RTO objective needs. So really, some of the questions that I would be making sure I ask is, how frequently can I perform backups? Again, if you can't lose intraday transactional data, you got to be backing up every hour, or you need to be taking steps to making sure, for those Microsoft database applications, you're at least taking SQL backups, internal SQL backups every hour, every 15 minutes, backing up those SQL backups appropriately. You need to make sure that the cadences of backup are going to meet your recovery point objectives. Now, how quickly can you perform a restore? This goes to a couple of things. First of all, it's about testing the performance, right? We've just done a pretty great job testing the Ninja Backup solution with our image backup and our image restore capabilities. But if you've never tried this, and if you're not making sure that you have robust storage options, right? If I did this cloud only, this would have taken a little longer. But it would have been such a small machine that we probably still would have completed it in our webinar. Now, are you putting a file server cloud only because it's a much cheaper option? Well, it's cheap until you need to use it, right? And then are you struggling to get the data down in a timely fashion? So how quickly can you perform restores? You got to go be testing this. Go test with an organization and try and restore a server and make sure you understand the steps of process. Speed here does not just have to do with bandwidth and networking. It has to do with your understanding and knowledge of the tool. If you got to go spend and every minute counts in these restore situations, and you turn around and blink and another 15 minutes has gone by and the company's still down, right? And then you start reading the documentation and looking at how do I restore here, assuming you've picked the correct and best option the first time and you don't have to interrupt it or you don't have to try it again moving forward. Making sure that you are prepared, along with that you have the right technology in place to support a seamless and speedy restore process, needs to be investigated and understood before you're in a situation. And I sort of discussed this a bit here in number 2, but what data storage options? So this is why you should be clearly looking at understanding local and cloud is the best way to cover off the scenarios that you need. Individual server goes down, you've got that local restore. Site goes down, you've got backups off-site and you can recover still. So making sure that you're taking that into account, taking into account the speed of restores would be really important. And then finally, what are your support options? We had a deck in case that failed, but it didn't. But truly, from a Ninja perspective, we have a dedicated support team that handles restores. They're here, they're ready, they're doing this more than I am, and practicing and having this knowledge and understanding of how to use our product in different situations. I had to make 6 choices that were correct. I had to choose the right gen of Hyper-V VM. I had to choose the right MBR or GPT format. I had to choose the right ISO to download for this version of Windows that I was restoring. And if I don't get that right, that doesn't boot. And if that doesn't boot, and this is a file server that took 6 hours to restore, down the drain. But what do your backup vendors do for you today for support? You should call them up. Hey, I want to practice a restore with someone. I want someone to walk me through this. Um, it's important to recognize what they will do to assist you in a crisis. And I tell our customers, and I would highly recommend this, by the way, for anyone, call them when you have a crisis. I'm in trouble. I've got a server down. I want someone to look at my settings before I hit go. Get someone to take a second look. Ask those GPT MBR questions, those Gen 1, Gen 2 VM questions before you are going to hit a button and wait and hope that it all went right. So checking to see what support options you have today, make sure that you're with the right partner and that they have the right capabilities of supporting your business. All
Awesome.
right. How are we doing on questions there, Nick? What do we
Good.
got?
We got several ones coming in. So first off, thank you, Dan, for going through all that information. That was great. You know, glad the live demo went well as well. But we'll kick off some of the questions here. So I'll start with we have a question from Jeff that asked, can we add multiple backup times to a backup job? Only seeing ability to add one backup time for daily backups.
Got it. Yeah. And so today our image backup has publicly only daily capabilities. We are rolling out a bit of an improved image backup tool later, well, I guess early in the year. We do have some opportunities. If you submit a ticket and you really do have hourly image backup needs, talk to me. I've got a few things that I can look at for certain individuals. But 100%, we're going to have the capability of allowing you to schedule more intra-daily backups in the image tool. Today, we also do offer a file folder backup solution. And so in some cases, there is an opportunity to, back up that C volume as the image, and the file folder can go as frequently as every 15 minutes. So we have some small workarounds, but we also have some major support coming for this. So I'd be happy to go over with that, anyone that has a more direct need.
Awesome. All right, so we got a second question from Raj. Can you restore VM from VMware to Cloud Azure or GCP or vice versa?
Okay, it's a good question, and I've been made aware of this. So today, our image restore tool is capable of providing you an ISO, right? Or you could download this to a USB and boot from that. So as long as you can boot a machine to ISO, you can do that. Now, I'm not sure if Azure allows you to do this. I had just always assumed that you could always boot to an ISO, much like you just saw me do in a Hyper-V manager. Um, we have actually we've talked about that there should be a capability of us converting an ISO to VHDX. I'm still playing around with that. I don't have anything official to support yet, but I think that's where we would go to assist if the ISO wasn't an option.
All right. Another question here. In a strategy, the problem is oftentimes to test the backups. Is there a mechanism in the product to test the restore without
Mhm.
having to restore in the client infrastructure?
Yeah. So today, the best options that we can provide are better spot checks. So today, as long as if you are storing your image in a hybrid local cloud or a cloud, you can mount a volume and download individual files and folders. That's a good spot check that I think everybody should be doing, on like a monthly basis. Just going in and recognizing that you can mount, that you can download. Um, that would be very important. What we do have coming is I talked about this new image format that we're working on. It's a major step forward for us. And soon after, what we're going to start exploring is the capability of boot verification, so that you can get a proven, screenshot of this machine booted up. We're looking at probably doing this as a cloud service offering. Sorry, doing this in the cloud. because we've already got the data right in AWS. We're close to compute. I think it will be reasonable to be able to do that. And just to give you like a very long-term roadmap of what I'm interested in approaching is, if we can boot verify, then why can't we just DR into the cloud for you for a period of time? So I think those are sort of the hurdles that we're going to be looking at approaching next. And then, of course, automatically scheduling that. But at least today, I highly recommend people are going in and mounting and verifying that you can get that data. Right? This data is hashed and chunked and encrypted and split to save space. If you can mount it and your operating system is healthy, your disks are healthy, there should be no reason why you can't restore that as well.
Awesome. All right, let's see. Um, so I had another question here from Jason. We're talking a lot about data backup, but I use Ninja Backup, and honestly, it's great for clients, but we have no mechanism to back up our quote data. NAS, cloud storage, etc., are not able to back up using Ninja only Windows machines themselves. Am I wrong? Data is much more important than clients or even servers in my client's world, at least.
So I think I understand the question, but I mean, as long as you can install a Ninja agent on a device, we're capable of backing it up today. So that's Windows servers and workstations. Mac, we have file folder capabilities. Um, so if you're talking about like SaaS backups, like the Microsoft suite, we don't have that capability today. It's something that we're exploring our options of what our customers might be interested in. But today we are capable of backing up servers and workstations that can get the Ninja agent installed.
Awesome.
Sorry. I get it now. Sorry. I don't have NAS backup today. Network share. So that's what you're asking. Um, please submit a feature. This sounds cheeky. Like, we look at our feature requests. It is one of the higher rated of interest. I am exploring this because today we're agent based. Can't put an agent on a NAS, and so we're exploring how do we approach that. Um, so it's something I'm interested in, but to be very clear, we act on the loudest volumes of information. And of course, we're a business. When you tell us that we're not going to get your business because you can't back this up, it means something to us. If you say you're going to get more backup from us, it means something to us. Please, I think we already have a feature request on our link, and maybe we can post those links as well. But I would love to go categorize a bunch new requests today for NAS, if the need is out there.
All right. We got another question from John. So when selecting the Ninja One hybrid backup, can I do file and folder level restore via local storage?
File folder. So you're asking to select uh, the storage location when you're doing a restore. I I believe that today, where we find the local storage available, we are capable of utilizing it. And if we don't see that, we head to the cloud. I definitely know that's what the case is with our image restore tool. And I believe it will be similar on the file folder restore functionality. I may have to double check that. But I am interested in the future when we talk about our image plan. uh, that image plan, I want to have separate retention policies for local and cloud. So if you want to keep 3 months local and 6 months in the cloud, we're going to give you that flexibility. And then what I expect to be able to do is to show you revision points that exist local and cloud, and give you the absolute capability of saying that one, that's the one I want, the local 3 p.m. go.
All right. We have a bunch of other ones. Dan, if you want to take a look at some of the chat of the
Yeah,
Q&A.
let's see here.
See what we got here.
I'm gonna stop this so I can bring this and see it easier. Let's see. Wow, lots of great questions. Thank you, everyone. And Feel free to drop other stuff in chat. I will be reading every single chat message as this is over. Don't forget, guys, we have a Ninja One Discord, an official Discord. We have a backup channel in there. I'd love to just sit in there for the rest of the day too if we need to talk. Let's see here. Does the solution support AWS EC2 workloads? As long as you can install the Ninja agent. So if you're running that Windows, it will. Is there any plans to have the backup service installed on a hypervisor host to manage the backups from the physical hosts? Not really, not right now. Because our system is just agent-based, and our expectation, 9 out of 10 people surveyed said that they were happy with just agent-based solution because you're already deploying the agent on these machines. You could still back up a hypervisor, right? But obviously we're recommending that you keep that system and the VM storage separate so that you don't have to, restore an entire 3 terabyte hypervisor with the VMs. Nothing today on that front right now. Placing the restore. Let's see here. We do have the capability of incorporating drivers into the image restoration. You can inject a driver into the process. Let's see here. Are the backups region dependent? If I'm in Quebec, would my backup stored in Canada? So today we have global bucket selection option. So if you're in Canada, you choose the Canada bucket. If you guys are interested in, if you have a need for multi-regions in your entire Ninja instance, please submit a feature request on this. I'd be interested in learning more about it. I see capabilities in the future where a global MSP may have like a West and an East Coast and want to use that, but I'd like to hear more about that. This is a great question. What scenario do you recommend for local backups and protecting them from ransomware? Okay, so today, and with Ninja Backup and with many, right, if you're storing backups locally, you got to make sure that that is secured. So today, SMB storage, bring your own here at Ninja. Highly recommend that you set up a very specific share with specific user credential access that is only allowed to touch that. A special user account that is the only one allowed to write to that directory, and deny everything else. This should not be stored on the same physical Spindles 1 as your production storage, but nobody should have access to this. You shouldn't just be able to see this doing a you shouldn't be able to navigate to the directory. If you can properly safeguard the share access, you're going to be in a much better situation during a ransomware incident. Okay, let me, looks like we still have a few more questions in chat. I want to go through a couple more here. David, thank you for the Ninja One Discord invite. That's awesome. Guys, sorry. Agents for phones, interesting. We may get there one day. So one thing's database backup. So our backup engine is VSS aware. So as long as you, so like for example, we do get the question, can you back up SQL? Microsoft SQL, yes, we are VSS aware. We know how to quiet that database and take a backup. If you have it in simple recovery mode, we're even capable of truncating those logs. And so we should be very capable of handling that. And then one thing we just did put out in some recent update is pre and post script. So today you now have the capability of running a script before, running a script after. Maybe you want to stop a service. Maybe you want to run a command line. So you have a bit more capabilities on that. Um, let's see here. Let's see if we have time for one more question here. Image and file folder types of backup are separate plans. And so you have the flexibility of creating an image plan that runs on a schedule and a file folder plan with specific criteria that runs on a schedule. And I'm sure I've missed questions, please, but I'd love to talk more on Discord all day on this stuff. So thank you everyone for your time. And Michael, reach out to me. Okay, good question. I want to figure that out with you. And thank you very much. I hope this has been informative and helpful. If you guys are interested in checking out our Ninja Backup product, we'd love to get you a demo and involved. And looking forward to seeing you guys in the next webinar.
Absolutely. So, yeah, if you check out the resources section, we have a few different, few different guides for you, a little bit more information about Ninja Backup for MSPs and for IT departments. We also have a backup best practices resource as well. We have a great customer story from Heroes. If you're interested in taking a look at that video, quick, under 2-minute video for you there. And as the last thing, Andrew, if you want to pop back in and announce the giveaway, that would be great.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being so patient and for having me on today. My name is Andrew. I'm the Marketing Programs Coordinator for Ninja One. I'll be announcing today's webinar prize winner for a pair of brand new Bose headphones. So the winner of the Bose noise canceling headphones is, drum roll please, Michael Scott. This is also not the Michael Scott from Dunder Mifflin, but congratulations, Michael. Keep an eye out for an email to claim your prize in the following days. And that's it. Thanks, team. Back to y'all.
All right. Great.
Cool.
Thank you so much, guys. Dan and I will be going through the chat, make sure we get all the Q&A answers and the webinar chat answers answered for you guys. And we'll be in touch. Like Dan said, please hop into the Discord for backup. We'll be there. We'll be talking. Dan's always more than happy to answer any questions we have. So thank you guys all for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day, and happy holidays to everyone. Happy New Year.
See ya.